Good morning, I am Tracy Spence with your newscast. This newscast is brought to you courtesy of BioLife Energy Systems. Come join the living. Call them at 800-875-5433. USA Credit Repair, the key to beautiful credit. You may call them at 800-786-1330. Cruising with the Case Handler, a show on personal injury and immigration, weekdays 9:30 a.m. on Saturdays 7 p.m. and 12 noon on Sundays, and the Supreme Power Homes. Call them at 800-493-9002. Now for the news in details. The Jamaican government is moving to have a third telecommunication provider in the Jamaican market by next year. Technology Minister Darrell Vaz on Wednesday disclosed during a media briefing that Cabinet has been given approval for the process to granting a third license to start. Pressure has been building on the government to introduce more competition in the telecoms market, especially amid widespread complaints of service interruptions faced by customers of both major providers. The problem led then Telecommunications Minister Favor Williams to hold meetings with Digital and Flow last November. The Office of Utilities Regulation this year directed both companies to give clearer information about their packages after consumers complained about unexpectedly high bills and rapid credit depletion. The issues led to calls for other companies to be issued licenses. Mr. Vaz said that the process will start next month. Peter Figueroa, professor of public health at the University of the West Indies, Mona, is not in agreement with a plan by Jamaica's Minister of Tourism, Edmund Bartlett, to have tourism workers included in the first batch of individuals to get the COVID-19 vaccine. Mr. Bartlett argues that tourism workers are also a vulnerable group. But Professor Figueroa said the focus should be on frontline medical staff in the first delivery since they are most at risk. Speaking Wednesday on a current affairs program, Mr. Figueroa said protection of health workers is especially important as Jamaica is preparing to enter the cooler months of the year and the number of COVID-19 cases is expected to rise. The authorities are hoping to have at least 16% of the population vaccinated against the virus by the end of next year. However, some nurses have reportedly expressed fear about the safety of the vaccine that Jamaica will receive. Meanwhile, Jamaica's Ministry of Health and Wellness's study on the salt consumption practices of Jamaicans, which is being undertaken in partnership with the Caribbean Institute of Health Research, CAIHR, is set to commence in the first quarter of next year. The $13.5 million research project also involves collaboration with the University of the West Indies and is intended to provide contextual information for the implementation of a national salt reduction program to reduce blood pressure and associated cardiovascular disease. Portfolio Minister Dr. Christopher Tufton made the disclosure at the virtual launch of the LIFE project at the UMONUS campus in St. Andrew earlier this week. The research project on salt consumption is aimed at estimating the dietary sodium content in commonly consumed packaged foods sold in supermarkets and food chain restaurants, conducting a baseline survey on current knowledge, attitudes, and practices regarding salt intake in Jamaica, and estimating the current levels of salt consumption. Finally, an 18-year-old U.S. medical student and a 24-year-old Caymanian resident have been sentenced to 4 months imprisonment in Cayman for breaching isolation rules. Their initial sentence of community service handed down last week was overturned on Tuesday after the government filed an appeal. Justice Roger Chappelle said he took into account the message legislators sent when they significantly increased the sentences recently, as well as the sacrifice the community has made to keep Cayman free of COVID-19. Skylar Mack and her boyfriend, competitive jet ski rider Vanjie Ramjeet, were arrested after she attended a jet ski event 2 days after arriving in the Cayman Islands from the United States. Mr. Ramjeet assisted her in attending the event. And that is it for the news. This newscast came to you courtesy of BioLife Energy Systems. Come join the living. Call them at 800-875-5433. USA Credit Repair, the key to beautiful credit. You may call them at 800-786-1330. Cruising with the Case Handler, a show on personal injury and immigration, weekdays 9:30 a.m. on Saturdays 7 p.m. and 12 noon on Sundays. And the Supreme Power Homes. Call them at 800-493-9002. On behalf of the news and production team, I am Tracy Spence. Do have a good morning.